Hey everybody, welcome. I tried to do a reel yesterday about this topic, and I tried to do a reel again today about this topic, and I just realized that there's too much to say in 1 minute, so I'm going to try to explain this maybe in a couple of minutes. It gives us a little bit more time. One of the things that I want you guys to start to pay attention to is how your physiology, your emotions, your thoughts, your behaviors, how they shift or change when you're around different people. And why is that important to pay attention to? It's important because what we're doing, if you're interested in this kind of work, is we're taking unconscious fragmentation, which is literally the state of every human being on this planet, until it's not. Until that process of unconscious fragmentation becomes a conscious expression of our multidimensionality. Meaning that we are the maestros of the infinite aspects or the infinite expressions of our own being. And we get to conduct that. We get to show how that expresses, or we get to, consciously choose how that expresses instead of be directed by our own unconscious fragmentation. But one of the things that I don't hear people talking about a lot, and maybe that's just because I don't know a lot of people in the scene or the healing scene, so to speak, the trauma recovery scene, who use the intersection between parts work and somatic experiencing, meaning the nervous system and these different aspects of self. And after doing this work for 4 years with people, what I've realized and really seen that this is true. It's really true that these different aspects have different physiology, different immune system, thoughts, behaviors, emotions, right? That's what makes it a separate aspect. But what's really interesting, so let me give you an example, okay? The other day I was going into an aspect with a client, and it was a part of them that had been suppressed. And with a lot of these suppressed aspects, they're holding a lot of the pain patterns for us. So you might have access or to noticing those things in different situations, but you might not be connected to it all the time, right? Because that fragmentation our internal experience of our own aspects shifts from moment to moment. So what I found is that when I moved this person over into that suppressed aspect that was holding a lot of the pain for them, all of a sudden this complex within the muscle system activated. So there was this really tight neck, real pain in the neck and the shoulders and the spine. And the beautiful thing is that this person was actually able to identify, oh my God, this is what this is. This is the physiology of this particular part, right? So we're mapping that out. But what's beautiful is that in that process, and this is why I'm saying I don't see a lot of people talking about this intersection point. And this is what I've been doing now for a couple of years with people since my somatic training, is to actually work with the nervous system of the particular aspect that we're working with. Because when we bring that aspect back in, we're not merging it with everything so it just blends and everything just becomes we kind of just become the color brown, right? If we're a palette of colors, we don't mix all the colors together. They hold their own unique signature, and we want to be able to access them at different points when we need them. But so when we integrate that aspect, what I do with people first is to actually work with the nervous system. And what I found, and the physiology and the pain patterns, is that it can actually be released in that aspect. So sometimes there will be memories, for example, that we're locked out of, and it isn't until we have access to that part of us that we were unconsciously fragmented from, or that was kind of just operating in the shadows. It's not until that moment that something will actually click. So that's why I love parts work so much, is because there's so much information that's held within that unconscious fragmentation. It's held in the unconscious mind, in the first dimensional layer of our personality matrix. And I've seen profound shifts in people when we start to work with the nerve. They didn't even have access to that nervous system or that subset of physiology within themselves. They didn't even have access to those memories. So until we got to that part. And then we start to actually melt the pain within that aspect. So when we bring the energy back in, we're bringing it in its most exalted form, because we've clarified out any of the false fields of that aspect. And when I say false fields, I don't mean that having a tension or pain pattern is a false field. Well, I guess I do kind of mean that. What I'm saying is that that's not original to that part, right? Once we heal anything that's unresolved, what remains? What is the exalted core aspect of that? It might be the heart, it might be wisdom, it might be an aspect of the soul, it might be an inner child, an innocence. But whatever that is, we bring that back and we've unburdened that aspect. That's really the whole point of these consciousness expanding processes, is to unburden unconsciously fragmented aspects of us that are running our lives so that we can actually come back into the seat of ourselves, take care of that vulnerability, reorganize that disruption within the nervous system directly, dissolve that out so that we're here, right? So that we're living in the present moment. That's the whole point. That's why we do any of this stuff. That's why we do soul retrieval, nervous system work, parts work. It's to clear out the density so that we can be here in the present moment, connecting, so that we can have relationships, so that all of the work that we've done to reconnect with ourselves internally reflects in the way that we have relationships, reflects in our society and in communities. I'll leave you with this one last thing. That process of making unconscious fragmentation a conscious expression of multidimensionality is the process of healing the core wound of every single human being on this planet, which is separation. Very interestingly, I just learned this the other day. Dante's Inferno, thank you, Justin, for this hot little piece of information. I haven't read it, but he calls this entity that's sort of the amalgamation of all of the human suffering and pain. What does he call it? He calls it dis-ease, disconnection, disharmony, right? The dis. That's the core wound for every human being. And there are many processes to bring us back together. But I really wanted to share this because I know that for someone doing this work, or for somebody who finds this interesting, this is going to make sense. And like I said, I don't hear a lot of people talking about this, the connection between parts work and the nervous system. I hope you all are having a wonderful day out there. Sending you all so much love. Let me just pop in. Hey, Tony, if you're still here. Hey, Sabrina, Jen, Teresa, Giancarlo, Heather. Yeah, loving you guys so much. See you soon.